Welcome to Winchester Now. I'm Mary Blacksland. On today's programme, the cost of living brings record demand for Winchester's Basics Bank. And those revelations, what do you make of Prince Harry?
Winchester Radio.
The cost of living crisis means Winchester's Basics Bank is helping more people than ever before, and staff and volunteers fear the situation will get worse. Last month they fed close to 1,000 people, which is more than double the number before COVID and higher than at the peak of the pandemic. The charity, which was founded in 2004, provides food, hygiene and cleaning products as well as help and advice. Paul Breakwell is treasurer of the Basics Bank.
People are really in need coming out of the pandemic, but also the energy crisis and now the cost of living, and the combination of those all together is really impacting people. And we believe this is going to get significantly worse in the next couple of months because we've had a relatively mild period, so people haven't had their heating on as much as maybe they would do otherwise, and they can't make those choices now. It's a choice between, do I clothe my kids, do I feed my kids, do I keep my kids warm? And in some cases people can't do any of those three.
1,000 people you were helping last month. Some people might be quite surprised to know that that need is there in Winchester. Yeah,
and I think that's something that I've definitely learned with my involvement over the last 4 years with Basics Bank, is we assume that Winchester is an affluent area, everyone's fine, it's not an issue, and that is definitely not the case. Behind the scenes there is real pain, there is real vulnerability. I don't necessarily mean that's just in areas that are known to be vulnerable areas, so it's across the piece. And we've even had cases of people who've had very good jobs, they've mortgaged up, they've had school fees, they've suddenly lost their jobs, they don't know where to go, how to cope, and they come. So the need is across the city.
For some people, though, it might be quite difficult to ask for help. There's a bit of a stigma attached, isn't there? You know, what would you say to people who are in that position, who do need that help urgently?
So I think the key is, this is the community giving to the needs of the community. It is a community issue. Some people say, I don't want charity, I don't need charity, I don't want to be seen to be in need. We all have those situations. So what we try and do is have it as open as possible to make it easier for people to engage. That can be a self-referral. People can go on our website and self-refer. They don't have to go through an agency where they have to disclose those things at all. So I would encourage people, you are in need, you know you're in need, reach out because the community wants to help you.
And what are ways that the community can help?
The community helps in a number of ways. They help in terms of volunteering. We have up to 80 volunteers who give their time up to do a whole range of things: sorting food, meeting with clients, advising clients. We have a first aider, signposting specialist service. They might be doing deliveries. They might be serving on our board as a trustee, all of those things. So there's a contribution people can make with time. There's a contribution people can make with donations of goods, either through their supermarket, drop off through their church boxes, whatever. There are a whole means of facilities across the community where you can just drop goods off, or they can help financially. Our website has various channels that people can give to, and we have gift aid, various other things on that basis. I think the biggest area that you can help us is to accessing the demand. Each of you knows somebody who's in need. So we would ask you to reach out to them, show them what to do, take them through the website, fill in the form with them, or help them on that basis. So the greatest need we ask you to help us on is bring the demand to us, raise the awareness that we are here to help the community.
Sort of looking out for your neighbours, really, isn't it?
Exactly. It's literally that. So if you're working in a school and you know there's some families that are in need, you can step in that situation. If your neighbour, if your family member, if somebody you know at church, your community, everything else, then just make that. It's only 1 or 2 connections away for someone who's in need.
And describe for me a bit about what you see, the difference the Basics Bank makes to people. What are some of the stories that you've heard about?
The one that really touches my heart is the schools programme. You've got young kids who aren't being fed. They're getting free meals during the term, but they're not getting met in the holiday. I mean, that destroys an individual, their health, their growth, their development. I mean, it has a transformational impact. And we say that, there are certain people who are struggling in school. Well, if they haven't eaten a meal that day, it has that massive impact. So that's the thing that really touches my heart the subsequent generations are being affected, not just, the households in that sense. And I think just to see people smile when they know that their family is going to be fed for the coming week and they can come back and have a referral the following week, and just to help them get out of the particular situation they're in and on the road to self-sufficiency. We want ultimately people to feel that they can be self-sufficient. So just enabling people to move through that journey is hugely rewarding.
Paul Breakwell there from Winchester Basics Bank. Now it seems to be the topic everyone is talking about at the moment. That book, the interviews and those revelations. I am of course referring to Prince Harry. His book Spare came out in the shops this week. Winchester Radio's Kurt Hill has been asking people in Winchester what they make of it all.
What do you make of the whole situation with Prince Harry?
It's terrible, really, and I have not much time for either of them. I think he's really let himself down with this book and the TV appearances, and I think he will live to regret it. And I know the popularity has dropped quite considerably with the pair of them. So I think he's made a big mistake, really, and he's behaved rather childishly.
He's wasting his time.
How's he wasting his time?
Well, why expose in public something that should be done in family?
I feel very sad about it all, really. I think it's a big mistake they're making. I'm not saying there's not faults on both sides, but how are we to know?
What do you make of the whole situation about Prince Harry and the comments he's made?
I think he's done what he needs to do for his family, Press has been a bit harsh. A bit harsh is an understatement. I don't think it's right how much they're criticising her.
I think he's been a bit foolish, actually, I have to say. I used to really respect him and like him, but I think what he's done now is he sort of hasn't done himself any favours. If you want to leave the royal family, that's great, go and do what you want to do, but unfortunately he's highlighted all the issues and now he's sort of courting media and attention, and I don't think it helps anyone. I don't think it's going to help him. I think long term it's going to be a sort of disaster for him, and it doesn't help the royal family, and I think he should just sort of go and live and do what he wants to do on his own without sort of, selling books and courting the media.
I watched a documentary and I was in Waterstones waiting for my friend, and I did read the first 10 pages and it's very interesting. I feel like they've done a good thing explaining their side of the story, because I feel like the media's bashed them a lot, so them explaining their side of the story, I kind of rate them.
Oh, so do you agree with the comments that they made?
I've not gone too deep into it yet, so I can't say.
I haven't researched that much, to be honest.
I just think they should be left alone.
I think it's a shame, we've had a monarchy here for so long, and I think it's so good for the world, and she's done a great job, and it's a shame that someone wants to come along and then, want something else out of it. I think she should shut up and stay out of it, to be honest with you, or come back and grovel and rebuild and do some proper work. But no, I've got nothing to do with it. I don't want to even read it. Disgusted.
I think that he's doing it for the money and not because he actually cares about anything or what's going on. Also, they made the Netflix series, didn't they? And I also think that's for the money.
He's quite a nice bloke, actually. Yeah, I thought he came across very well.
Do you think he should still be part of the royal family?
He is part of the royal family, whether you think he should or not.
You're going to be buying his book?
Does the look say it all? Can you get the look on radio? I think that's a
Now for a roundup of other news in and around Winchester, here's Jackie.
Winchester MP Steve Bryan has met with the Chief Executive of Southern Water, Lawrence Gosden, to talk about the cut in supplies just before Christmas and what's been done to stop it happening again. Parts of Southampton, Eastleigh and Winchester lost water for up to 2 days, including Badgers Farm, Twyford and Shawford. The company said December's big freeze, followed by a rapid thaw, caused pipes to burst. The MP heard how upgrades are taking place at the Otterbourne and Testwood waterworks in the hope of avoiding similar issues in the future. Winchester Prison is still suffering from staff shortages. There have been problems with violence and inmates are being kept in their cells far too long. These are the latest findings by the Inspectorate of Prisons. It carried out a review following a report in early 2022 which judged Winchester to be one of the most violent establishments in the country. The latest report concluded that while the scale of the challenge is still daunting, improvements are being made. Hampshire police say too many people are still getting behind the wheel while under the influence of alcohol and drugs. The Joint Roads Policing Unit of Hampshire and Thames Valley Police made more than 700 arrests as part of their annual Christmas drink and drug driving campaign. 286 of these were in Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. People interested in adoption are being encouraged to attend a drop-in event in Eastleigh this Saturday. It's being held by Adopt South, the regional adoption agency for Hampshire's local authorities. Since launching in 2019, it's placed more than 400 children with adopted families, but says more people are needed to come forward, especially to give a home to siblings, older children and those with additional needs. And finally, 7 penguins who were put into isolation after an outbreak of avian flu at Marwell Zoo have been given the all clear. 8 birds sadly died at the beginning of December as a result of the disease. The zoo says thanks to the quick action by staff, the outbreak was swiftly contained. The 7 penguins will soon be allowed to return to their pool and enclosure.
Winchester Radio.
A new initiative began this month, cutting the cost of many bus trips around Winchester and the surrounding area. The price of a single journey has been capped at £2. It's part of a £60 million government initiative to help with the cost of living and encourage more people out of their cars. The scheme runs until the end of March. James O'Neill is the Commercial Director for Stagecoach South, which runs bus services in this area.
Yeah, it's really good news and it's a really simple offer. Nearly all of our fares now are going to be £2. A few of them will be even cheaper than that. So the maximum one-way fare is just £2. So yeah, you can travel right across the Stagecoach network. So for us, we go across as far as Alton, down to Fareham, across to Romsey and up to Andover, and obviously all the buses within Winchester City as well. So it's really, really good, really simple.
And what's the reason for this initiative?
So it's part of the government's Help for Households initiative. So it's a 3-month trial starting in January and running through to the end of March. And it's just designed to help people with the cost of living. And it's a national scheme and most bus companies are part of it.
And is it also trying to encourage more people to use the buses?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's designed to get more people travelling and hopefully encourage more people to think sustainably about how they make their journey. And yeah, so lots of good news.
But one reason people give for not using the buses is reliability. Sometimes the buses are late, sometimes they don't even come. What are you doing about that?
So we've had a difficult couple of years for lots of reasons. We've done our best to keep our buses running through really challenging circumstances, and one of the challenges has been recruiting enough drivers. And I'm pleased to say that actually at this point we are well on the path to recovery with that. We do have lots of applicants wanting to join us. Our aim for 2023 is very much to keep putting buses back on the road. We aren't quite running as many journeys as we were in 2019, but that should be improving as we move through the year now.
Another reason the government gives for this initiative is to help the bus industry recover after the pandemic. How's your company faring? Are you suffering economically as well?
We are, and I'm pleased to say that actually in our area, we have been performing quite strongly. Our network is reasonably secure. Unlike other parts of the national network, we haven't had to make any significant changes to reduce routes. We constantly review what we're running, making sure we're carrying enough passengers to cover the costs of running the bus. We've been fortunate that we've had several years now of funding support from the government, but fundamentally we need to be carrying enough passengers to pay for those services to run, and I'm confident we will be doing that. So our aim is very much to keep lines on maps, encourage passengers back on so those buses keep running through this year and beyond.
I know it's early days of this £2 initiative, but what difference have you seen it making so far?
We have, you're right, it is very early, but yes, we are slowly seeing a few new faces, and we'll keep monitoring that as we move through the next few weeks and see how we do as we move towards the end of the 3-month period. Our aim is obviously to keep as many of those new passengers as we can once the scheme ends and then into April and beyond.
That's James O'Neill from Stagecoach South. Time now for our weekly shout-outs, and here's Nigel.
It's 11 years this week since the formation of the Hampshire Hospitals NHS Foundation Trust, which includes Basingstoke, Winchester and Andover hospitals. On Twitter, the Trust said, "We're so proud of our amazing staff members who go above and beyond every day. So our first shout-out today is for all the teams at our local hospital." The Winchester Beacon has given a big thank you to the Southern Voices Choir and all their supporters. The Christmas concert raised over £500 for the charity, which helps homeless people in Winchester by providing accommodation, food and support to help them rebuild their lives. And a shout out to everyone who supported this year's Christmas shoebox appeal. Shoeboxes full of gifts are distributed to countries where children might otherwise receive little or nothing. Winchester Rotary sent out more than 500 shoeboxes, which had been packed by local residents and staff and pupils of 7 local primary schools. Gifts this year were also delivered to children in Ukraine. The Winchester shoeboxes were part of 18,000 from 50 Rotary clubs across the region.
Winchester Radio.
Now, last week we heard some of the New Year's resolutions set by people in Winchester. One of the most popular is to get fit. But for many people that can be hard to maintain. So I joined Winchester Fit Club at a session in a Kingsworthy car park and talked to founder Michael Day to get some advice.
Right, is everyone okay? Right, so before we go into the stretch off, we've got the round 1 is 5 exercises, 35 seconds on, 5 seconds off.
Obviously, it's one of the most popular New Year's resolutions. I want to get fit in 2023. What advice would you give to people who set that target for themselves?
I'd always say the New Year, New You campaign is very much heavily pressured by social media, and people believe they need to look a certain way. I would say think about what you can do and only do something you feel could be sustainable, because sometimes it's much more beneficial to keep something going if it's sustainable, but sometimes if you do too much you feel like you've let yourself down, and then you go backwards with your mental health. It can have a really negative impact. The reason I started Fit Club for myself is I moved into Winchester. I needed something that I could sustain. So what better than to do it myself and to run it myself? Then I know that I'm accountable for me and all the people around me.
And what's the reason do you think that most people fail in the New Year's resolution?
Again, there's a lot of research now about the pressures of social media, the pressures of what people think that you should expect of yourself and what they expect of you. As soon as you hit that plateau, people give up too easily because they can't keep it up. And a lot of people find that you go out and go, I'm going to run 5k, but there's a really long journey to get there, and it's just understanding how much effort needs to be put in.
There are 8 exercises, as we know, so let's go round, guide the rest of the group and see what you remember from the month off of Christmas. Go!
So if I've set myself that resolution, I want to get fit, I want to get healthier, I want to get thinner, what would you say? What exercises should I be doing? Where should I start?
At the base, walking, sleeping, staying hydrated, and graduate your results. So we say to people here, we do a challenge every January. We say to someone, aim at 10,000 steps a day. If you can't get to 10, do 8, but be consistent with 8, knowing that you can step up. Be realistic. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't rely on other people to put expectations of you. Do it in a group and do it at a time that suits you, so you know you can commit every day, every week, every month.
So you've got a group just starting now. What do people get out of doing something like this and being fit?
Our club is, again, as you can hear in the background, is very much about community. People use this as an opportunity to catch up. Probably 70% of our club are now friends outside of the group, and they regularly go on holidays and have dinners and stuff like that, and that's what we wanted to have as a foundation for Winchester Fit Club. What they get out of it is, they wouldn't want to come here and work out in a car park if they didn't get a little bit of fun, a little bit of banter with all of us, but also everybody here, I know them intimately, so I know what they need, and my sessions are always written to focus on each of their needs, and we just have fun.
So I really started coming because I wanted to get out and do some exercise. And when I started to come, I realised how much more impact it had beyond just the physical fitness. It was about my mental health. I made some really good friendships, and I love coming every week.
What I get out of coming here is sort of mental health support from Mike himself and everybody else that's involved in it all. Because obviously, you can see I've got quite a bad injury to my foot. I just get a lot of bit of upper body fitness and do that, and it's really good for my mental health.
So as usual, we do these stretches, work yourself up from the ground, feet, ankles, calves, hamstrings, hips.
Everyone has a bit of a laugh, and you feel invigorated after. The endorphins kick in, you can go home. We give them a lot of advice about what they should be eating post-workout. So people look forward to this because they can then go home and have that extra bit more chicken or a bit more carbs. So it focuses the mind, and we love them, every one of them.
Michael Day from Winchester Fit Club there, and that's it for now. I better go and do some exercise, so until next week, goodbye.